Hey there, everybody. My name is George. I'm the founder here at Extension Ecom, and today I'm going to be walking you all through some Amazon PPC best practices, and we're going to be focused on optimizations. So let's jump into it. So in terms of the basics of optimization, it really all starts with a goal. So you need to define your efficiency goal. Now, you need to think about two things. If you really want to focus on short-term profits, which I would not recommend, you want to make your efficiency goal stricter. And if you want to focus on sales growth, you want to make the efficiency goal looser. Now, profit will go up over the long term when more money comes in, but it will come at a lower profit margin percentage, and that's okay, because over the long term, in terms of years, efficiency can be restored through economies of scale. So you're going to have increased branded search. When more people know about your brand, there's more word of mouth in the marketplace. You're going to have improved organic rank, which will result in improved organic sales. You can do CRO, right? You can focus on that detail page, and you can do some A/B testing to improve conversion rates, and therefore you should always optimize for sales growth unless you are unprofitable. So now that you've defined your efficiency goal, that could be ACoS, that could be ROAS, that could be tacos, then you can start to optimize. Now you have a few different optimization levers here, one being budget, one being placement modifier, one being ASIN selection, one being bid adjustments, one being negating and harvesting terms, and one being pausing and graduating. Okay, so let's talk about budget. So if a campaign is performing well, you should check in on that campaign and see how much money it is spending per day. In the event that it is spending fully through the budget and it is capped by the daily budget cap, then you should go ahead and increase that budget. It's the easiest optimization you can make. If a campaign is performing poorly, however, you should actually reduce that budget immediately and then start to optimize it. So if you're spending $100 a day completely inefficiently, you can drop it to 50. You can do your optimizations. That $50 will be a smaller percentage of your total spend. So it'll hurt the account less. You can optimize, you can get it back to efficient, and then you can increase your budget. And if an ad console is overspending, right? Like let's say you have a goal of spending $10,000 in a month and you're going to spend 12, 13, 14, don't adjust your bids first, adjust your budgets first so that you can get back to pacing towards that budget. So go ahead and calculate how much more budget you have to spend for the rest of the month, adjust all of your daily budgets or add a budget cap to the account rather than trying to get the budget down through cutting bids. Decrease budget first, optimize second. Now let's go give a quick look at budget, and we'll just do scenario number one here. Hey there, everybody. I just wanted to jump in real quick and let you all know that we actually do this all day, every day as an agency. We have over 40 active clients that have generated over $100 million in the trailing 12 months on Amazon. And if you want our support scaling your Amazon business, feel free to click the link in the description below, go over to our website and book a call there. I look forward to chatting with you. And with that being said, let's jump back into the video. So scenario number one here is, your campaign's performing well, right? 20% ACoS, $2,000 in sales, $420 spent. So what we want to look at here is how much is it spending per day? And we can see it's spending $111, $105 a day. We go into campaign settings, it's spending 81. So a very easy lever we could pull if 20% ACoS is acceptable is just going in and increasing this budget. And we go ahead and save that. Now that's just a one-off example. You obviously have your other two scenarios where you need to decrease budget as well. Next up is going to be the placement modifier. So we want to be reviewing this at least once per week. And we want to make 5% changes at a time. You don't want to do anything higher or lower because small consistent changes lead to predictable outcomes. When you go in and you take a placement modifier and you jack it up to 100% overnight, you're doubling your bid. So if your conversion rate remains the same and your bid goes from, let's say you're spending $2.50 to make $10, right? $4 ROAS. And then let's say you put a 100% placement modifier and that CPC goes from $2.50 to $5. Your conversion rate remains the same. You're spending $5 to make 10. You now have a $2 ROAS. You just slashed your ROAS in half. So what you want to do is you want to do small incremental increases, 5% each time until you find the point of diminishing returns, and then you want to stop there and revert back 5%. It's pretty straightforward. Increase if you're at efficiency goal and decrease if you're not. So let's go back into that campaign real quick and let's just look at our bid adjustments. What we can see here is that top of search is at an 11.46% ACoS in the trailing 7-8 days. So we can see here that we're at a 5% bid adjustment. It's at 11%. This campaign's running at 20%. We could definitely go ahead and increase this by 10%. Then we can look at Amazon business placements. Currently $20 ROAS. Let's get that to an ACoS for us. 5% ACoS there. So we already have increased this to 25%. It's still doing really well at a 5% ACoS. So we would want to say, hey, let's pump that to a 30%. Now for these other two placements, right, we're not going to do anything because there's no data suggesting that these are going to outperform. $130 spent, no sales, no ACoS. $30 spent, no sales, no ACoS. So those are going to remain at 0%. We would not change those. Okay, next up is going to be ASIN selection. So what you want to do is you want to check the ASINs that you've selected within your campaigns, and you can use different lookbacks, 7, 14, 30, 60, year to date, whatever the date range you really want to use that Amazon allows you to, and see if there's any ASINs within those campaigns that aren't performing as well as they should, and go ahead and remove those ASINs. ASINs. So now a lot of times when you have massive catalogs, it's very important to use this as a lever. We're talking your 10 to 20,000 product catalogs where you have a ton of parent, ton of child ASINs, lots of variations, a lot of similar product groupings, and they all end up with the same campaign because you're targeting relatively the same person. And now you might have 100, 200 ASINs in one campaign, and you can very quickly skim through those and identify multiple that have waste that you can pause and just make the account more efficient. Okay, here's a great example of that in a different account. You can see that there's 4,866 total ASINs here. We can see performances across the board. Overall, it's at a 25% ACoS, but we can see the top spender is doing a 43%, the second top spender is doing 125%, third top spender is at 110%, fourth one's at $183 spent, no sales, $160, no sales. So you can see that there's a ton of potential that we could come in here and eliminate some ASINs that would make this campaign perform more efficient immediately. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is adjusting the bid. So when we're adjusting the bid, we want to leverage a consistent framework to drive consistent, predictable results. For that, what we want to do is we want to look at two different frameworks, one for decreasing bids and one for increasing bids. So let's say we had a ROAS goal of 3, but you can apply this to any number and just change the range. But for 3, let's say you're at 2.99 to 2.5, you can go into your targeting tab and identify all of those and cut it by 5% if they have less than 2 orders. For anything that's 2.49 to 2.0, cut that by 10%. For anything 1.5 to 1.9, cut that by 15%, 1 to 1.4, 20, and less than 1, 25, right? So the further we get away from our efficiency goal, the larger cut we want to make, because it's unlikely that those, if they're at a statistically significant sample size, are ever going to recover and be efficient for the account. And then what we want to do outside of that is we want to increase our bids, right? So let's say it's that 3 ROAS goal, 2.5 to 2.99. If it's 3 or more orders, this time we're going to increase it by 5%. And then anything above 3, we want to do a 9% increase. And in general, you want to avoid top sellers, even if they aren't perfectly aligned perfectly within goal, because if you cut the bid for a top selling keyword, ASIN target, whatever, it could greatly harm the account. For example, let's say you had an account doing 40,000 a month in ad sales and it has one target doing 7,000 a month, right? Well, that's a very high percentage, 20 to 25% of all sales going through one target. And if that target's inefficient and you do a large cut and the sales tank, you might spend, weeks trying to figure out what occurred, but really you just cut the top seller. So in that situation, you want to try to optimize everything else around it and make very small cuts to it to make some small efficiency improvements, but realize that that is such a large sales driver that you kind of have to live with it. Okay, so let's talk about negating and harvesting words. So whenever you're using campaigns that aren't exact, so we're talking phrase, broad, auto, pat, expanded, category targeting, etc., you want to go into the search term reports and you want to analyze anything that's completely wasteful. So that's going to be 2x your efficiency goal. So if you have a 50% ACoS goal or a $2 ROAS goal, those are the same thing, right? You would want to look at anything with a 1 ROAS or less or 100% ACoS or more and define that as completely wasteful. If it's at a statistically significant sample size of data, right? So if it has 5 clicks, you can't make a decision. If it has 43 clicks, you probably can. That's going to depend on the conversion rate of your product. So if you have a very high conversion rate product, think, very low AOV CPG products that are selling for $15, they're going to be converting 20 to 35% of the time. And for that, you want a smaller sample size of data, right? 10 to 20 clicks. Now think about your expensive products, 500 to 1,000 plus, they're going to have like a 1 to 3% conversion rate. So for those products, you want, 50 to 100 clicks to make a decision. That's how you would decide the amount of clicks that would be statistically significant. Now, in the event that you have a statistically significant sample size of clicks and efficiency is, double where it needs to be. Again, if you had a 2 ROAS goal, it's at a 1. If you had a 50% ACoS goal, it's 100% plus. You would go ahead and you would negate those terms. You would also want to negate any clusters of terms, meaning it's the same word in different phrases across 30 searches and they're all getting 1 click. So none of them have high enough search volume where one has 63 clicks and, it's very clearly a negation. But that keyword phrase across a vast majority of searches is just not getting the job done. It's completely wasteful. You can add that one as a negative phrase. Now be very careful when adding negative phrases, because if you use negative phrase on the wrong thing and it's generating sales on other search terms and it's really efficient, you could hurt your account. Then the other thing you want to do is harvest anything with 2+ orders and good efficiency metrics. And you want to take those and you want to put them into other campaigns, right? So you can put them in exacts, phrases, product targeting, but just don't negate any top performers in auto campaigns or any campaigns. It is highly unlikely to perform better in other campaigns. First, you're going to mess up the algorithm. Second, if you go from an auto campaign to an exact match campaign, exact match campaigns have the highest CPCs. So like, let's say you're getting a 0.6, CPC in auto, and you go ahead and say, hey, this has 7 orders. This is great. Let's negate it. Let's move it to exact. And let's say it goes from 0.7 to 1.5. Well, you just killed your efficiency by 50% because the bid doubled. If you were paying 0.7 to make $10, now you're paying 1.5 to make $10, right? It's just not a great trade. So what you should do is you should keep it in the auto and you should put it in the exact. That way you can win on it both times. So here's a great example of harvesting and negating. We can see that this campaign's at a 25% ACOS. And if we go through spend tap down, we can see that this guy's got 84 clicks, $40 spent, 78 clicks, $34 spent. We can take these two, which have a statistically significant sample size of clicks, and we can negatively target them in this negative targeting tab here. Now, alternatively, what we can do to harvest and graduate is we can go orders top down, and we can see 12%, 6%, 1%, 2%, 1%, 3%, 2%, 2%, 1%, 4%, 1.6. We could take all of those and we could put them in a specific product targeting campaign to make sure we're appearing on those ASINs more often. Gives us more control over where we end up. Now, we wouldn't want to negate anything here because you can see we're getting really low CPCs around 0.45. So in the event that we put it in that product targeting campaign, like I was mentioning, if it goes to 0.9, you're just going to half your efficiency. So everything's going to go from 2 to 4, 4 to 8, etc. Okay, so the last optimization lever you have to pull is pausing or graduating, and this is going to be the exact things you're targeting within the campaign itself. Now, you're going to have some stuff within the campaign that's just wasteful. It's not going to be efficient. Very similar to the negation mindset of like, hey, just pause this within the campaign and the campaign will be more efficient. But then you're also going to have terms that are performing super, super well. And if you're running them within sponsored products, you want to graduate them into sponsored brands video, or sponsored display, so you can further increase spend within the account. Now, when you graduate them, it is likely they will perform worse. But if you can add an incremental sales, build brand recognition, and drive long-term growth, it is worth it. As you grow your revenue, typically your profit margin percentage does decrease, but when you get to economies of scale and through enough testing, you'll get that profit back and you'll make more profit than ever before. So you want to make sure you're always pausing targets, and you also want to make sure you're graduating targets to higher funnel tactics. Now, here's some different optimization strategies just to be aware of. First is going to be percentage of spend going to brand. This is one thing I see happen quite often is people are over investing in brand. Typically, less than 10% going to brand is beneficial for the business. And when you get into the 50%, 60%, 70% of spend going to brand range, that's when you start to stagnate. You have amazing efficiency. Your ads look great, but your sales just don't go up. So you want to double check that you aren't doing that. And then another thing to double check is that you have your auto campaigns using negative phrase on brand terms, and you're negating the brand's ASINs within the auto campaigns. Because if you go and get all of your branded campaigns to get brand really low, but then you're running a large auto strategy and it's just targeting your brand, it's going to hurt your ability to remove the branded spend. Next one you want to think about is the percentage of spend to purchase. So a majority of your spend should be going to the purchase funnel to non-branded shoppers. This is what's going to grow your business. Now, efficiency here will be lower than brand, and that's okay. This is cold traffic. It's going to grow your business sales. It's going to grow your organic rank. As your organic rank improves, you're going to get more organic sales. Non-branded ROAS or ACOS will always look a lot worse than branded. You don't want to look at branded and say, hey, that's our goal, because it's not realistic. It's not achievable. And then we want to talk about when to use the consideration funnel. So you want to graduate to the consideration funnel if search volume is low within your niche. Let's say your niche specifically has 3,000 search volume a month, but one step outside of that where shoppers will still be interested in your product, just not as many of them will want to buy, has 50,000. Well, if you can tap into that 50,000 and get the 1/5 of those who are interested in buying, now you just unlock 10,000 additional search volume. So if you have really low search volume within your niche, it's going to be tough to scale. You need to tap into larger markets. In addition to that, if you're already organically ranked top of search for purchase terms, you're already like rank 1, 2, 3, or 4, just funneling more and more money into those terms isn't going to drive the sales growth you want to see. And it's also likely going to cannibalize some of the organic sales you would have received. So what I'd rather see you do there is cap your budget, still stay on so that you can continue to win your top of search organically. But like, let's say you're spending $100 a day in your top of search, maybe reduce that to 50 or 30, see what happens, and then refunnel that cash into a little bit broader terms, right? Going back to the exact same example, the little bit broader terms where not everybody's going to be a shopper that will want to buy from you, but maybe 1/5 of them. And then you just unlock a massive net new quantity of search volume that will grow your business. And then lastly, let's talk about optimization cadences based on campaign tenure. So if you have a newly launched campaign, you want to monitor your metrics from left to right. What do I mean by that? You want to start with the impressions. Are we getting impressions? No. Increase the bid. Are we getting clicks? If yes, what's our click-through rate? Was the target relevant? Do we have an issue with the main image? Are we getting sales? Are those sales efficient? If they're not efficient, is it a targeting issue or is it a listing issue? You want to start left to right. And then in addition to that, you need to be monitoring those metrics daily for a few reasons. First, Amazon's suggested bidding system isn't good. It's likely that when you use that suggested bid, it's going to be wrong. It's going to be off. You're either going to spend no money or you're going to overspend. So in the event that you're spending no money and you don't check that campaign for 3-4 days, you just wasted 3 to 4 days. You just need to go in there, check it, and increase the bids. In the event that you're spending way too much money, that might happen on just one term. The suggested bid was way too high for, and now it's burning all of your cash and the campaign looks inefficient. You're spending too much cash. You need to just go in there and reduce that to a better CPC level. And then lastly, for matured campaigns, you want to read those metrics right to left, and you want to monitor these on a slower cadence. So right to left, now you're starting with A, cost and sales, because you already have data. You already know you're getting impressions and clicks. So you want to say, are we efficient and are we driving revenue? And you want to decrease and do a slower cadence, right? 2 to 3 times a week, because you optimize those campaigns into a healthy spot. And now you just need larger and larger sample sizes of data to push the campaign in the right direction. Now, there is one asterisk here. In the event that you have tentpole events or seasonal periods, you are going to have to get back into those mature campaigns and get to work, because things are going to be changing rapidly within the market. Bids will be changing by the day. But during your evergreen periods where you don't have these big seasonal things occurring, that's when you really just want to be getting the data in and making good database decisions on a statistically significant sample size. So if you found this video helpful today, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be continuing to roll out more videos to help you grow your Amazon business. And if you do want to work with us, feel free to check out the link in the description below. Have a good rest of your day.